I sent my coworker into anaphylactic shock. I work at this mid-size marketing firm where everyone brings lunch or orders takeout. There's this guy Kevin who sits 3 desks over from me, and he's one of those people who just gets under your skin without really doing anything wrong. The thing that really got to me was how he'd always comment on everyone's food. Like if you brought a sandwich, he'd lean over and go, "Ooh, that looks good. Where'd you get that?" Or, "Is that homemade? My girlfriend makes the worst sandwiches." Every single day. It was like he had this compulsive need to insert himself into your lunch experience. Well, last Tuesday, I brought these peanut butter cookies my sister made. They were sitting on my desk while I finished up some emails before lunch break. And sure enough, Kevin comes wandering over with his usual routine. "Damn, those smell amazing," he says, hovering next to my desk. "Did you make those yourself?" I told him my sister baked them, and he immediately goes, "Mind if I try one? I'm starving and my lunch got delayed." Now here's the thing. I'm usually pretty generous with food. I'll share my fries, offer half my sandwich, whatever. But these cookies were special. My sister lives across the country and she shipped them to me as a pick-me-up because I'd been having a rough week. Plus, Kevin had this habit of trying one and somehow eating half of whatever you brought. So I said, "Actually, I was planning to save these for later." He laughed like I was joking. "Come on, just one. I promise I'll make it up to you." I should have just said no again, but I was tired, stressed about a deadline, and honestly just wanted him to leave me alone. So I grabbed one cookie from the container and handed it to him. "Thanks, you're the best," he said, and took a huge bite. That's when I remembered. My sister had mentioned something when she called about the cookies. Something about using a new recipe she found online. She said it had some kind of special ingredient that made them extra rich and nutty. Almond extract. A lot of almond extract. The realization hit me just as Kevin finished chewing and went back to his desk. I sat there for maybe 30 seconds trying to remember if Kevin had ever mentioned any food allergies. I didn't think he had, but we weren't exactly close friends. We barely talked outside of his food commentary. 5 minutes later, I heard this weird coughing sound from his direction. I looked over and Kevin was clearing his throat repeatedly, touching his neck. His face looked flushed. Another minute passed and the coughing got worse. He stood up, walked to the water cooler, drank a cup, then another. His face was getting redder, and I could see him scratching at his arms. That's when Jennifer from HR walked by and stopped dead in her tracks. "Kevin, are you okay? Your face is really swollen." I felt my stomach drop. I looked closer and she was right. His face was puffy, especially around his eyes. His lips looked bigger than normal. "I don't know," Kevin said, and his voice sounded weird, like he had a stuffy nose. "I feel really itchy and my throat feels tight." Jennifer immediately went into crisis mode. "Do you have any allergies? Did you eat anything unusual?" Kevin looked confused for a second, then his eyes went wide. "Oh shit, the cookie." He turned to look at me across the office. What was in that cookie? I felt like I was going to throw up. "Peanut butter and almond extract." "I'm allergic to almonds," Kevin said, and his voice was getting more strained. Really allergic. The next few minutes were a complete blur. Jennifer called 911 while our manager rushed over with the first aid kit looking for an EpiPen. Kevin was having trouble breathing and kept saying his throat felt like it was closing up. His whole face was swollen now and he had red blotchy patches all over his arms. The paramedics showed up in like 8 minutes, which felt like 8 hours. They immediately gave him a shot and put him on oxygen. While they were working on him, one of the paramedics asked me what he'd eaten. "A peanut butter cookie with almond extract," I said, feeling completely helpless. "How much almond extract?" he asked. I had no idea. I called my sister right there in front of everyone. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, quick question about those cookies you sent," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "How much almond extract did you use?" "Oh, a lot," she said cheerfully. "The recipe called for a teaspoon, but I doubled it because I love that almond flavor." "Why?" I watched as they loaded Kevin onto a stretcher. "I'll call you back." They took him to the hospital, and I spent the rest of the day feeling like the worst person alive.